Hello and welcome to the Zach Brown Show, the show that introduces you to old friends for the first time. I'm your host, Zach Brown. Joining me on this episode is Aubrie Griffin. Aubrie and I talk about the importance of community and how our chosen families really make life worth living. Our conversation after this. I love coffee. It's part of my morning routine. Without it, I just don't feel like myself. Allow me to introduce you to the official coffee of the Zach Brown Show. Located in Columbia, Tennessee, Oak Hill Farm Coffee Roasters offers a delicious variety of roasts and blends. Every bag of coffee you buy will help mission and humanitarian projects all around the world. What's better than a cup of coffee? A cup of coffee that helped make a difference. Oak Hill Farm Coffee Roasters. Wake up, drink coffee, and go do something great.
So I think this is probably my most comfortable podcast recording so far.
Yeah?
It's a comfy chair. I've got my tea.
Dude, would you like a blanket nearby in case you decide to put it on?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay.
I'll just get up and go get it.
You can walk around while you're recording.
Yeah, why not? You're over there. You're on your side of the couch. I'm over here in the chair. It's great.
My best side. This has been my spot, actually, for the last couple of weeks. I'm either like this or like this.
Yeah.
But I haven't left this spot a lot.
This is my place.
I go to work and I come back here.
This is my place. All right, well, let's get started. There are people in your life that you meet and you know they're just there for a season. Whether you learn things from them or not, they just go in. Then there are people in your life that you meet, and the more that you're around them, you're like, oh, these are forever people. Like, these are my people. And kind of like Ed Helm says in The Office, like, I wish there was a way to know that you knew you were in the golden years when you were in them. But I think there are those times that you do know that's the gold times, that's hitting, that these are the people. And it's really cool. And those people become not just your friends, but they become your family. And I am thrilled to be sitting here talking with some of my chosen family. Welcome to the podcast, Aubrie Griffin.
Thanks for having me, ZB.
You bet.
I was just telling Zach, this is my first ever podcast that I've ever been on. So.
Which is surprising to me.
Why?
I don't know, because you're just a fun person, and I think people would want to, like, not only just sit and talk with you, but record it and share with the world at large, which I apparently get to be the first, so yay us.
I have debated starting podcasts before, because I feel like I have a lot to say, and it could be something that could be beneficial to other people's lives, or not, could also just be entertaining. So I've definitely considered it before, but no, it's my first time.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So when I was looking at getting this podcast rebooted and looking at the subjects I want to talk about, the stories that I wanted people to share, I immediately went to you. Like, you were top of my list. And it was because I enjoy talking to you, for one, but you exemplify community and healthy community in a way that I've never experienced before. You know, we've been a part of different groups, different circles. You've been, you work different places. You have family members. You go to different churches, sports, whatever. And there's always somebody in every arena that does something so freaking well. Mm-hmm. And something that I greatly appreciate about you, my friend, is that you exemplify the word intentionality. Mm-hmm. And I love telling people about our friend group, because that word comes up so often that I almost worry that people think I'm overusing it. Mm-hmm. But I have meant that word like I've never meant it before. And I just appreciate how you love people so well. And when people are going through things, you're right there with them. So let me ask you, why is that so important to you? Why is community so important? And where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First of all, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I think that I spent a lot of my younger years trying to find that, you know? And I spent a long time finding it in the wrong people and in the wrong places. I had terrible friendships growing up. In high school, actually had this one friend group where a rumor got started by one of the girls in it. And very quickly, almost overnight, I went from having this really solid group of friends that I had known probably since 6th grade up until my sophomore year of high school when this thing happened. And it was really weird because it was between me and 2 of the girls. And then all of a sudden it was like everyone had to choose a side. And I didn't necessarily have anyone choose my side. And so there was a period of time in high school that I was left feeling alone and feeling unseen and insignificant. And I already carried a lot of that in my personal life just from some of my upbringing. And so I think for me, I've always wanted to be someone that went out of their way to make sure that I didn't make someone else feel like that. And so I wanted to be that friend, you know?
Yeah.
And even still, I spent many, many years trying to understand what true friendship was. Because just like, you know, you mentioned earlier, you have different seasons of friends and then you have your for lifers, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I had a really hard time discerning when I was younger what true friendship looked like. You know, I thought that if you could sit down and have a fun conversation and a good time with someone, that qualified them to be a friend.
Yeah.
But it took me some time to really understand and to learn that friendship is built on so much more than just, you know, commonality and a good time.
Yeah.
You know, there's rapport that gets built. There's trust. There's history. There's reliability. There's consistency. And I think that it's actually really cool when you find friends that are nothing like you, you know, that challenge you, that allow you to really push your version of a status quo. And it really honestly wasn't until I met the Lord and learned what a relationship with Him looked like.
Yeah.
And what true love meant, that I was able to find that in people as well. Because, you know, I wasn't necessarily looking for things in just one person or a group of people anymore, but in Jesus. And then once love was defined through Jesus, it became clear to make decisions on what love in other people looked like, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's cool because in that avenue, it's really cool how you can see how you find people and friendships with people like platonically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like society wants to make it so much more. It always has to be like, oh, either you don't like them or you're looking to sleep with them. Like there's no in between. And it's so frustrating, I think, to people whether they realize it or not, that there's that pressure put on any sort of relationship. And I think you and I had been like, you know, just friends for maybe like a year and a half, 2 years. And we've talked about this before, so this is nothing like shocking just between you and I. But like there was a point when like, I think I just recognized how much I appreciated you as my friend, how much I knew you genuinely cared for me or were like, would challenge me or whatever. And then, you know, like your brain goes like, wait, do I have feelings for this person? And it's like, no, I actually just realized that I have such a deep appreciation for this person and a very healthy, like there's boundaries and there's like an understanding of one another. And it's this amazing thing that I think when you see the freedom that is, wow, this person genuinely cares for me in an altruistic way, not looking to get anything, not looking to make anything happen, just rooting for you. Yeah. Just like calling you out on the stuff that you shouldn't be doing or saying, or even just thought processes. And what can, you know, how we can do that for people in our lives when you know they love you, they know your heart, you know their heart. Right. And the 3 basic human desires: to be seen, to be known, to be loved. Right. And when you find those people that you're like, oh my goodness, like they're there for me. Or, man, they pissed me off telling me that I shouldn't be doing that thing that I'm doing. But I know that's because they want me to be better. Right. Or they want me to be alive, not just stuck in that. And I just love that. Yeah. I love that about like our particular friend group, and just that you I always go back to you. Like, you're the gravity of that. That's who you are and what you do. It's almost annoyingly so.
I tend to be the friend that like people don't love bringing things to for that fact, because I'm learning, there is a delicate balance between grace and truth and saying things in love, but and definitely allowing people to learn for themselves. But I think sometimes, I don't know. You and I have had conversations like this before where, friendships are really important for the sense of we make each other better. That's what relationships are. Relationships are meant to help us to grow and to be encouraged and to go through the hard things with, and sometimes to challenge. Challenge definitely comes with that too. And I don't shy away from the challenge part.
And we have to have that. If we stop letting ourselves be challenged, if we stop listening to others' inputs, whether you take it or not, trash or treasure, you just stop growing. You stop living. Yeah. And I'm thankful for people such as yourself where, I say that you will, if somebody's having a rough time, you will climb right down into the mud with them. But you don't sit there long enough for the mud to harden and you get stuck, like you're both now stuck.
Yeah.
But I think it's the special thing where it's like, I think I've seen this recently and I've been kind of voicing this, where it's like you encourage, whether that's encouraging people to be better or to encourage them to stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I think we see people in our lives and it's like they're just ramming their head into a wall, and you want to be like, hey, one, you're going to hurt yourself. Right. Two, you're not getting anywhere. Why do you keep doing this? Right. And they're like, this is me. This is my truth. I'm doing these things. And you're like,
for myself.
I'm just telling you probably shouldn't do that. Right. And how often we just bite people's heads off because we don't want to be told that the thing that we're doing is not good.
Right.
And, shame on us for not listening to people that we know care for us.
Well, the thing is, I think sometimes is that we do actually want to be told, hey, this thing that you're doing is actually making things worse, but I think that we also get comfortable in that place too. Cause I think that eventually, if you're hitting your head against the wall long and hard enough, eventually you're not going to really feel it anymore. And so it probably doesn't make sense when someone over here is like, hey, I bet if you put a pillow right there, it would be a little bit more comfortable.
Or recognize that that's not, in fact, ever going to be a door.
Right. There actually is no way of opening that at all. Right. Yeah. But I think that sometimes we get so comfortable in that place that we're in that if someone were to come and encourage us in a different direction or challenge us, even when we think we want it, we don't actually realize that it's something that we want anymore.
Yeah.
And we actually just want to stay put where we're at. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, when we talk about community and we talk about the importance of having those people around us, it takes a sense of humility to be able to recognize that we need what we're asking for, and that it's okay. It's okay to not know the answer, and it's okay to not be the only person that can get you into or out of something.
Yeah. We're just so bullheaded. The moment that we stop and realize that everything in life is not, we didn't do on our own. Mr. Rogers does this thing where it's like, sit there for say 20 seconds and think about all the people that helped you get to where you are today. Mm. I think we all genuinely took that, we'd probably all just sit and cry out of gratitude for the people that have helped us along the way.
Yeah.
Whether that has been an easy lesson or not so easy, there's definitely people in my life that have helped me shape the way that I think or approach things in life, whether that be jobs or people. And they've not been fun lessons.
Yeah.
Sometimes the greatest lessons in having a job is having a really terrible manager.
Yeah.
And I know that's how not to treat people or run something.
Yeah. That's so good. Not to turn this in a different direction, but you really actually pose a really interesting thing. Because even when you look at Jesus and his community, Judas, his betrayer, was in that space, but you would still consider Judas to be his community,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know that I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, how the people that you wouldn't necessarily call friend or have the most positive connotations to are actually huge contributions to your community and to the person that you are today.
We just, like you're saying, like we're comfortable in things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes even like, I think the chaotic nature of situations becomes so familiar, and we complain and complain and complain about, I want this to be different. I want this to be better. I don't want to be doing this anymore. But it's so routine that when something better comes along, if it takes any bit of work, we fight it because we've built this known, and the known is the like most awful thing.
Right.
Or maybe not, it's just dull. But it's this rut and you're stuck.
Right.
And it's so weird. And I've met some people, and I remember my mom would say this when I was little, she would go, some people just aren't happy until they're unhappy, that they just want to be in that place. They don't want to be challenged. And like our particular group of friends is very varied. You know what I mean? It's the uniqueness of our group. We have people with so many different personality types, different jobs, different interests. And like, even within that, there's like almost like subgroups within the group. And then there's some that you're like, yeah, I'll probably like never invite this person to go bowling. But then you're like, but I'm with them like 4 times a week and they're very much a part. It's so wild how community shapes like who we are. Like at the time of this recording, Florida just went through Hurricane Milton, and, some of us really were totally fine. And then there's other people in our like church community that, didn't get out scot-free. Right. And, to immediately go, we're good. Our house is fine. How can I go help?
Right.
And you just go do it. You don't think about it, but it's like, it's part of that group, that the family that you've kind of collectively chosen.
Yeah.
Again, not the whole, we're going to go grab dinner or bowling, but you're there, not like you're a part of this.
Yeah.
It's funny, like you were saying a moment ago, where sometimes we just don't even ask for help.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to. And it's weird because like you look at the human body, when you get like a cut or something happens, it's like all the blood like rushes to that place, or the energy. It's like the body goes, let's all team up to go fix this thing and divert all the resources to make this better.
Right.
But we as humans, if we were to be like, we are a collective, we are a body. When something's wrong, we're afraid to talk about it. Or if you're having financial issues, you don't want people to know because you're embarrassed. Instead of being like, this is a really tough time right now, just lost my job, or I got to pay for this thing, and here it is. And give the community a chance to be like, oh, let's rally alongside of this, take care of this. It's not embarrassing. It's just life. It's a thing.
Yeah.
But we make it such this almost like taboo or this thing where like, oh, I'm too proud to admit that I need help.
Yeah.
Why? What are we trying? Who are we trying to impress? Yeah. There are people. They've already chosen us.
Yeah. Well, I think, for those of us that call ourselves followers of Jesus Christ, when you're evaluating something like that, I think it's really easy to forget that Satan wants us isolated. Yeah. Right. He's a roaring lion ready to devour. Right. And so, a prowling lion ready to devour. And so think about in nature, when is the best time for a predator to strike? When their prey is separated from their pack. Right. And so when there are things in our life that fill us with, these, because we're never unaware of the things in our life that are taboo or wrong or sinful or, whatever you want to call it.
You feel it. You know it.
You know it. And so if the enemy can get you in your head to feel guilt, to feel shame, to put you in a place where you want to keep it to yourself, that's where he's going to get you. That's where he's going to say, no, you can't bring that to your friends. You can't bring that to your family. They're not going to understand. They're not going to get where you're coming from. They're not going to be okay with the things that you say and the things you feel. And while that might be true, sometimes it is hard for us to hear when our friends are doing things or our family are doing things that we don't necessarily agree with. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to love them in the midst of it. Yeah. That doesn't mean that we're not ready to roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty and learn together. And I think that, is the beauty of the muck, is that half the time we're all making it up as we go.
Yeah.
We're not the ones that wrote the book. We don't know the plays. We don't know how the game is going to end, but the beauty of community is learning how to do it together. And it means you're going to do it wrong.
We'll be right back after this.
Come on in to Carl's Arcade, where we have all the hottest video games, including Legend Seekers, Ninja Academy, and Jackalope Hunter.
Wow!
You're darn right, wow. At Carl's Arcade, you can win fun prizes, eat the cheesiest pizza, and try the all-new Tube of Mystery.
All right, so just put your hand in there and try to guess what it is.
Is it pudding?
Nope.
Is it peanut butter?
Wrong again.
Well, what is it, mister?
You don't want to know.
Located conveniently near the Windjammer Mall, behind Penny's Popsicles. Carl's Arcade. Live your adventure today.
Oh, boy!
Deep in the heart of Florida is a magical place where memories are made.
You mean like Epcot?
No, Sonny, I'm talking about Burmese John's Badger Farm.
Do they have rides?
Do they have rides? Nope. No, they don't.
Here at Burmese John's, we have the world's finest badgers.
Where'd you get the badgers?
The badgers are here. And that's all you need to know.
Okay.
This one's name is Demetrius. No, he likes you. Go on, scratch him's belly.
I'm good.
Now available for your birthday and corporate events.
Has anyone actually had a birthday party here?
Nope. Hence our availability.
Burmese John's Badger Farm. Won't do that again.
When you talk about chosen family, I think that there's this misconception that, if you're not enjoying being around somebody anymore, or if you don't like the way that they're responding to you, they're just your chosen family. You can just drop them, But unconditional love is meant to be in your chosen family too, just like in your blood family. And it's not unconditional if now you're saying, oh, I don't want to be around this person because I don't like the way that they're, saying this or doing this, or, I don't have the energy or the patience to learn how to love them through this season.
Yeah.
And we're all guilty of it.
Sure.
I can look back in plenty of seasons and think, where I let friends down, or I didn't honor people to the best of my ability because I didn't agree with their actions or the things that they were doing. And it's hard. It's hard to think about how we can let each other down in moments like that, or how we can even refuse to let people in because of that. But
I think in that same vein, the times, the opportunities that we don't take because maybe we don't want to upset them. Mm-hmm. Like there are the times when you love them unconditionally and you're there and they're doing stuff that you don't want. I think about friends that fortunately I'm still involved with, that went through some like rough seasons of life where they were just making some very poor life decisions. And it was known, you know what I mean? It was the whole, like, nobody's talking about it, but everybody knows it. And I know that you know that I know, like, so dumb. But I look back and I go, why did you never call them on it?
yeah,
Not to judge, not to be like, I'm better than you are, but just to hold them higher to like what they owe themselves and who they are, who they truly are. Be like, look, I don't know what you're dealing with right now, but whatever, things you're coping with right now, like you're choosing these substances or whatever, like this isn't you. Like, I don't know, again, like I love you. We're here. Let's talk through this. And it's been funny because I've had conversations, 10 years after those, where we kind of alluded to that time. And I can remember one conversation in particular where I was with a buddy and he looked back and he goes, you remember that day when we met up at such and such a place? And I was like, Yeah. And I was like, and then we like got in your car and like did whatever. And he was like, I knew that you knew.
Mm.
And I just like, it was like, I thanked you for not jumping on me.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, but I also could have like lovingly like coached you up.
Yeah.
And, you know, like there's the difference. And, you know, like I think we're just too scared to talk about the thing. You know, there's an elephant. I know there's an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
You know that I know that there's an elephant. And we need to realize that we love the other person so much that we should probably let them know about the elephant, let's talk about the elephant.
Yeah.
Whether they want to change or not, but just be like, I love you enough to at least have this conversation with you.
Well, I think the culture that we live in now makes that hard too. You know, we don't necessarily live in a world where that's welcomed, you know, where really we're living in a world where it's, hey, accept people for who they are and accept people for what they do, regardless of what that means for others or how that's impacting others. And I think that's the really hard thing, is that people are ultimately going to go towards what they're looking for, you know? So and
where somebody's telling them that that is the right thing.
Where it's being validated. Right. Exactly. So, you know, if I'm sitting in a place where I know that I'm making decisions that I don't necessarily agree with, or that my friends don't necessarily agree with, I'm going to probably start hanging out with people that are okay with that, because one, they're not going to ask me about it, so I don't have to talk about it. And two, they're not going to challenge me. They're going to let me sit. You know, they're probably sitting on a different wall, banging their head on that, you know? So I'm going to go be with the headbangers instead of the pillow sleepers, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's also the tricky thing about community, is that really you can find it anywhere. You can find any community that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think the really challenging thing is, where do I find people that are going to love me, that are going to meet me where I'm at, that are going to truly not just make me feel, but truly know, see, and love me, but continue to call me higher and help me become, you know, the person that God has created me to be, and the person that can look back on myself in 5, 10, 15 years and say, yeah, no, I've grown, you know? I think that when you talk about relationships, you know, that was one of the things that when my husband and I started dating, I appreciated so much about him, was that I wasn't spending time with somebody that was going to let me continue to stay where I was at. You know, he was very quick to challenge me. Our very first date, actually, we spent like 8 hours together just talking, which, if you know my husband, you know, and Zach knows my husband very well. And the two of them, they're the same, you know, they can talk to a wall for hours and hours. And I'm pretty sure that's what their friendship is truly built on, is just being able to talk to each other for hours and hours. But we, you know, we'd spent 8 hours together just talking and getting to know each other. And the very last thing he said to me on this date, I had told him some personal things about my family, and just a family member that I had gone through a period of time not having a relationship with and not speaking to. And our very first date, we're saying goodbye. Nice meeting you. Nice spending time with you. And he says, hey, I really want you to pray about how you're going to forgive this person.
Wow.
I said, excuse me.
Back off, man. Who are you?
Yeah. I've been dealing with this for, 26 years, 27 years.
Yeah.
And you have known me for 8 hours. So, but I loved that. I loved that I knew that this relationship was going to be with someone that made me better.
Yeah.
And that really is what we should all be looking for, whether it's in a romantic relationship, whether it's in friendship, or even with our family, is that we should spend time with people that make us better, you know?
I think about when I first moved here to Orlando, like I'd spent my entire life in one city, knew all this, all these people from different churches, different jobs. Like I could go anywhere and have that community. And when I moved here, I knew very, very few people. Mm-hmm. And the church that I was a part of was an older congregation, and it was very difficult to relate to anyone. Like everybody was, easily 40 years older than I was. And, I was just on my own. And so it was 2 years that I just kind of watched as I it was kind of was the dichotomy of it. I was living exactly where I wanted to live. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And so I was like living the dream in that aspect.
Okay.
But then in another aspect, I was dying. Like I didn't have people. I didn't have people to share life with. I didn't have people to celebrate alongside.
Yeah.
I didn't have people who were, calling me out when I was veering off, and I look at, the few people I did have that they weren't challenging me, and we're just like, yeah, kind of whatever. And sure, it was fun for, some aspects of it.
Right.
But I don't look at it and go, like those years made sense to my story. And it wasn't until I started going to the crossings where I met you and met, my buddy Christian and Robbie and all these different people that we hang out with, that I was like, oh my goodness. And how simple it is. I mean, some people would go, oh, great, like the dude from Friends. But it's more than just having friends, because there's like, there's the number, just like Jesus. Like Jesus had all these disciples, but then he has 12.
Right.
Like I've got all these people that I know and at any point could call and go do something with.
Right.
But when you find these people that you're like, oh my goodness, like I would try to move the, stars and the moon for you if you asked. There is such a power to that. And these are the people that it's not even like I don't want to do this because I don't want to be embarrassed from them or in front of them. It's like, I don't want to do these things because I know that like I'm better. Like they've made me better. Or I don't want to do this because like that's not who we are.
Yeah.
That's not what we do. And like, does the conversation I want to have at dinner the following time we hang out be, yeah, this is where I am? Or if you're like, tell me what you're doing, and I'm so ready to tell you about like the things I'm participating in.
Yeah.
The question, how you doing? Is so loaded. It's not, but we make it so.
Right.
And I would say
I say to almost every stranger that it keeps the door open for me.
How you doing today?
Do they ever answer? No.
They don't know what to do with
But
it.
it's as good as hello these days.
And you get fine.
Good.
I'm okay.
Yeah. Tired. Yeah.
Chase the dream.
Yes.
You
Live in the, there's one person that's at our church that every time you ask how they're doing, every time they respond, if I was doing any better, I'd be dead, which I don't actually understand.
I don't either.
Hold on. Maybe it's actually, no, I said that wrong. He says, because that doesn't make sense. He says, if I was doing any better, there'd be two of me.
Oh, double the problems.
Yeah. Well, or the goodness, based on his. But
I just think like we're not created to be alone.
Yeah.
Like it's so vital to be surrounding ourselves with people that they don't even have to be doing the same thing. I mean, as long as you're like, similar minded, you don't even have to be fully like minded, because if everybody's thinking the exact same thing, we wouldn't grow.
Yeah.
We have to have those challenging thoughts. We have those people. We say this all the time. Perspective is power, because you can be just so downhearted about something or frustrated about someone or whatever. And all it takes is somebody to come in and just give you a different perspective for you to be like, oh my goodness.
Well, can I actually, something that I've learned.
Go ahead. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. I think that in the world that we live in particular, we are constantly saturated with information. It's at our fingertips. We can find it anywhere. And, between social media and the news and TV shows and all of the things, we're constantly listening and constantly sharing. But is anyone actually listening? And is anyone actually sharing? I've learned over the last couple of years, I've been super fortunate. When I came to the crossings, there were not a lot of people in my season of life. And I was single. I was, a young professional female. And a lot of my friends at the time were married and either had kids or were starting their family. And so I was in a really unique place. And I remember, for a time in my life being a little bitter about it, because I was surrounded by people that were in the season of life that I was wanting to be in, And I remember the Lord really challenging me one day, and just telling me like, hey, you can be bitter about this place of life that you're in right now. or you can thank me for it and lean in and learn the things that I'm trying to teach you in the midst of it.
Yeah.
And that was such a humbling moment for me, because I learned that it wasn't my job to do in that season or to teach in certain places, but just to really learn and listen.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time just sitting with my friends, sitting in the muck, sitting, as my friends' kids were supposed to be going to sleep and slamming doors every 5 minutes because they were toddlers that didn't want to go to bed yet, or sitting with my postpartum friends and learning about baby blues and how much emotions come from being a first-time mom that you just don't know about. And, sitting through pregnancy cravings that make no sense, and, flying by the seat of your pants because you just don't know what to expect when your friends are in the middle of things, or sitting and watching my friends argue with their spouses, and either being able to learn from the way they communicate, or even just sitting and listening to their hearts for one another, and just learning to sit with my friends. We called it couch time. Like, hey, you want to come over and have couch time? And just be there, just be an listening ear, and just find out, the things that are on their hearts. And again, in a world where we're constantly communicating, we're not actually getting a moment to know each other and to be seen and to be heard and to be known. And so to take moments to truly slow down and tell the people you love, hey, I'm here because I want to know you. Even if I don't have to say anything, I don't have to challenge. I don't have to encourage. I don't have to put any information or 2 cents in, but I just want to sit and be here with you.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're not doing it by yourself. And again, that, going back to what I was saying earlier, that could still be sticky. That could still be messy because we don't know what it looks like and what the outcome is going to be. But so often we just need to know that we're not alone in it, and that someone else desires to be in it with us.
Mm-hmm. I think it's amazing. We keep saying about the chosen family. I mean, we all have family members that we're super close with. And we have those family members that were like, if it wasn't for the fact of DNA, like I would have no reason to be connected to you.
Right.
Whether that be distance or we're just different. Like I have some cousins that I'm like, I don't ever see them. I love them, but like, I'm not reaching out to go to vacation. I'm not asking them to come over. Like, don't have any bad blood. It's just, they just are.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are those ones that I'm like, I text them every single day. Like we're always communicating, and that's amazing. Like to have that, but it's so amazing that I've really over the last year where I've really been looking at my capital F family.
Mm-hmm.
These are these people that I'm like, we are doing life day in and day out. And then there are those that are my capital F families. So I'm like, man, I haven't seen them in 4 months. And then we'll get on the phone and talk for an hour and a half without realizing it. And we've picked right up. We are able to make the same in-jokes we've made for the last 15, 20 years. We can talk the same language. We can drop deep cut references of our lives and not have to sit and explain anything. It just is.
Yeah.
It's so special to have those chosen family, because when family gets difficult, blood family, because they are humans and people are difficult and they drive us insane.
Yeah.
And we can't make them go away because they're our family, and we can't make them go away because in some cases that could just be very illegal. But we just
most places.
I just can't deal with them right now.
Yeah.
And knowing that we have our chosen people, our community, the ones that you're they're there. And you're talking about just to have couch time, to be there, could you please just come over and hang out at my house? We don't need to talk about the problem. We don't need to deal with the thing. And it's not avoidance. It's just that's not what we're doing. Can we just come and hang out?
Yeah.
Just
Your presence is all I need right now.
Exactly. We can watch trash TV. We can eat. We can play video games, whatever. Let's, play cards. Let's just chill. And those are the nights that I just feel are the most human.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, your presence is all I need right now. Like, I'm not looking for answers because there are none. I'm not looking for comfort because I'm at a loss or whatever. You're like, I just need people.
Yeah.
We need to be seen, to be known, to be loved. And to put that in a tactful moment is so cool.
Yeah.
And I think about, friends that we have that, have gone through very difficult, unimaginable seasons. And you can be so exhausted. I've had a long day at work. Your schedule's full, and they text you and like, hey, would you want to come over tonight and like sit and like what? And you're like, everything in you goes, I don't have it in me.
Right.
But your answer is, absolutely. Like, what time do you want me over? And I will be there.
Right.
And you go and you sit and you like talk and you play with their dog, or you're like watching TV, and it just is.
Yeah.
And you're like, and this is the best. It's not an amazing situation, but you're like, here we are. We're making mud pies. Not letting it get hard around us to where we're stuck and whatever, but like, be here as long as you want to sit in the mud until the point when we have to look at them and go, I think it's time to get out of the mud. It's starting to get a little dry.
Right.
And it's cool when we can be like open with the other person and they know our heart and to go, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're like, nope, I just want to sit here in the mud. You're like, all right, I'm going to get up and go.
Yeah.
But I'll come back with the hose.
You let me know. Yeah. You let me know when you're ready for that to get cracked.
We'll break out through this.
Right.
What do you feel is the greatest treasure that you have to come out of, like that you take out of community? Why is it so special for you personally? Or maybe how do you feel that it has had a profound impact on your life?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think in and of itself, like you said, the idea of a chosen family is just so beautiful to me. People that don't owe you anything and aren't obligated to love you, but choose to do it anyways. I have found some of my very best friends and brothers and sisters, through our community and through the people that Hetz and I have come to know. And I think that just being able to share the little things, with the people around you is so beautiful. I think that getting to understand the heart of the Father through other people is incredible, and just knowing that no matter what you're going through, you're not actually doing it alone. There really is just something so unique to being, like we keep saying these three: seen, known, and loved. But at the end of the day, again, that is all we're all ever looking for is that sense of belonging and understanding that goes beyond words, you know? And I think to have people in your life that truly can do that, and to have friends and family that with one look can say, oh, this is what they need right now.
Yep.
I think that is so special. I have, I think especially looking back on this year, Hudson and I went through a lot leading into our wedding, and dealt with a lot of drama from external people that we weren't expecting, mostly in our families, on both sides. And that was really tough. It was really tough to hear the way that some of them were speaking about us, and misconceptions that came about, my character and my heart towards certain people. It was really hard. But the way that our community rallied around us, and the way that, some of our family too, his parents, my parents, our siblings were incredible throughout that process. I can't tell you how many times my younger brother, he's just a hoot. But it's just the way that people are willing to, drop everything and be there for you when that's all you need.
Yeah.
And I just love the uniqueness of relationships too. How you can have just such individual relationships and just like an individual knowledge of each person in your life. You know, like you were saying earlier, how you have like a vast group of friends, but it's so layered because within each person, like, okay, if I want to go try out a new trendy coffee shop, I'm going to call Zach to go with me because that's what he's all about, like unique and eclectic places. But if I want to go to a new Pilates class, I'm not calling Zach for that. I'm going to call Chrissy. Chrissy's the person that is going to want to go do that with me. If I want to go find a place to eat like good food for the first time, I'm going to call Chris, and Chris is going to come with me to eat, whatever I want for days and days. It's just knowing the individuality of the friendships and the relationships that you have, and being known by each other. I mean, it's beautiful, and then even more so when it comes to intimate relationships, like, marriage. Hudson and I are 2.5 months into marriage. And so still learning all that comes with that, but even just being able to see the greatest, earthly relationship that we get to experience, the most tangible example of Christ's love for us here on earth, and that truly unconditional love and that companionship, and that having someone in your life that truly challenges you and makes you better. And I saw this quote the other day that talked about how marriage is the greatest tool for sanctification, because, and I'm paraphrasing because it was a very long quote, but it says, how would you ever learn patience if you were with somebody that was just perfect and made no mistakes? And how would you ever learn grace, if you never had to forgive this person? How would you learn, long suffering if you didn't have to endure such hard things with the person? And I think that, again, while marriage is our number one example for that, I think that any sort of relationship can help us to learn that, how to forgive our friends and our family when they've disappointed us or frustrated us, and how to extend grace when maybe the thing that we were looking for in our friend isn't what they gave us, but they were just trying to love us the best that they could. And I think it's so beautiful how people are truly meant to make each other better, Yeah,
I totally agree. So one last question. It's a doozy.
I'm ready.
Your life comes to an end. It's all said and done. What would you like your legacy to be on this earth? There's always a fun question because the variety of answers that I've gotten. But what would you like your legacy to be?
Yeah. Man, that is a hard one. I didn't even have time to prepare for this question.
I don't usually offer this one up in preparation. I just let it happen.
Yeah, that's a good one. My legacy. I mean, I think that truly at the end of the day, if I'm not doing everything I can and exhausting every effort I can to get as many people as I know to come to heaven, I think that I'm missing the mark.
Yeah.
I think that if I'm not exhausting every effort to truly make the Lord known and his love known to others, then I've missed the mark. And I would say that would be the greatest legacy of all, is to, in the Bible, it talks about how, in the parable of the servants, when when they say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," and just knowing like those are the words that we're going to get to hear when we get to heaven's gates, and when we approach, the Father. I think that's the legacy. I think it's knowing that I did everything I could to make the Father's love known.
Yeah.
And that whether that's with my immediate family, with my friends, with strangers, with neighbors, being known as a woman who loved the Lord with all that she had, and raised her family to do the same. I think that's the greatest legacy of all, especially, as Hudson and I are, in the process of growing our family and getting to experience that, just wanting it to continuously carry through generations, and I would love to be known, as a mom who loves Jesus. I think about all the time. I remember growing up and I would have some of those friends because we didn't grow up in the church at all, my family and I. And I remember I had some friends who I would get in the car and their mom was always listening to, Christian music. And I was like, why does your mom only listen to Christian music? Like, why is this what we're listening to in the car? I would love to be that mom these days, like picking up my kids from school and their friends get in the car and they're like, what is this music on the radio? Yeah. To be like, the grandma that everyone, I love Hudson. Hudson's grandma passed away a couple years ago, so I never had the chance to meet her, but I still meet people to this day from Hudson's church, the one he grew up in, that tell me what an incredible woman his grandmother was.
Oh, how special.
And she was just this like communal grandma, who was known for how much she loved the Lord and how much she loved people. And I just think, I'm like, that's it. That's what it is, the financial resources, the worldly goods, however big of a house we can get, however many cars we drive, whatever college our kids go to, all of that stuff, we can't take it with us. Yeah. But being able to know that I am spoken of as a woman who carries grace and the heart of the Father in everything I do, I'm like, yes, sign me up for that.
I love that. That's great.
I'd say that's it. That's the legacy. That's the hope, at least.
That's a good one.
Do what I can.
Hey, thanks for sitting and talking.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Hope you enjoyed it. Well, folks, that's that. That's Obs, the Wizard of Obs.
Zach and only Zach can call me that.
Thank you to my guest, Aubrie Griffin, for coming on the show and spending some time with us. And thank you to you, my friend and listener. Your time is incredibly valuable, and I'm honored that you would spend it with me. If you enjoyed the show, and I hope you did, please tell a friend. And if you would take a moment to leave a review on your favorite streaming platform, that helps the show get to more people, and that makes me happy. The Zach Brown Show is produced by me, Zach Brown, and Corey Jess. Our album art is by Luis Lopez. Our outro music is Nurse by Corey Jess. You can stream it now on Spotify or iTunes. You can follow him on Instagram at corey.jess.productions. You can also follow the show on Facebook or Instagram at The Zach Brown Show.